Hi, I am Tammy and I do math for coffee, and we're continuing with our geometry lessons. I am in this second unit now where we are talking about parallel lines, and we're doing something really different today. This is how to write equations for parallel lines. Your teacher may or may not be doing this in their classroom, but I'm including it just in case. So this comes from a skill you learned in Algebra 1, which most people forget when they get into geometry. So I'll put a link up here so you can see that lesson too if you need to review it. I'm going to assume you already kind of remember and just get started. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line described, and we want a line that's going through the point 1, 4, but it's parallel to 3x minus 4. Now remember, parallel lines have the same slope. We did talk about that in this series of lessons about parallel lines. So I need to review this thing. Y equals mx plus b. That should look familiar. But in this little formula, the m is the slope, and we are going to use the slope of 3 because when this is laid out this way, y equals something times x plus or minus a number. I know this says plus b, but if you're adding a negative number, that's what happens. So we know that our slope is 3. So I need to write an equation for a line that has a slope of 3 and goes through this point. So we're going through the point 1, 4, and the slope is 3. This point, the 1 is the x and the 4 is the y. So I'm going to pull in y equals mx plus b, that's the formula, and then I'm going to replace everything I can replace. The one thing I cannot replace is this b. Well, in this formula, b is something called the y-intercept. We don't need to know what that means exactly, but that's the place where the line crosses the y-axis, if you remember your algebra. But for what we need to do today, we know what all these numbers are except for the b. So we're going to solve for the b so we can write a final answer. Okay, we know that the y is 4. The slope m is 3. And x is 1. You see, I just put all those numbers in there. I hope the color coding is helpful. Now we multiply 3 times 1, we're going to get 3, so I'm just rewriting this. 4 equals 3 plus b. I need to solve for b, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I find out that b equals 1. So we're supposed to write the equation, and the only thing you need is the slope and the correct number for the b, which we have. So our answer is y equals 3x plus 1. And the plus 1 came from solving for the b. And that's it. That's all you have to do. When you're writing an equation, you've got to put the x and the y back in there. And you just really need to know the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, let's do it again. We're going to go through the point 2, negative 2, and is parallel to y equals 2. Now, I'm not doing a lot of examples like the last one because that one's pretty straightforward, and you can go back and watch the video too to see how to do those. That's where most of your homework's going to be. But a problem like this is tricky. People don't know what to do with it. So I wanted to do that one in this lesson. Y equals 2. That's a line, and you're supposed to be parallel to that line. And if you follow the same pattern, where the y equals mx plus b is your formula, you have to rewrite this. The slope is 0 because 0 times x becomes 0 and just goes away, and then you end up with y equals 2, and that's where this came from. So I know that my slope is 0. I'm going to go through the point 2, negative 2, and I'm going to use the 0 slope. This is my xy. Here's my y equals mx plus b again. I'm going to fill in the numbers I know. Negative 2 equals 0. That comes from the slope. X is positive 2. The y was negative 2. And we are solving for b. Well, this is going to become 0 because when you take 0 times anything, it's 0. So I get negative 2 equals b. So my answer is y equals 0x minus 2. That's the thing written in slope-intercept form if you put something in front of the x. if you wanted to multiply the 0 times the x and just write your answer as y equals -2, both of these are correct. I like doing it like this because it's the same strategy and process that we use all the time. There might be another way to get to it faster, especially if you look at what's going on. You see how y equals 2, y equals -2 is right there. Yeah. But trying to teach that to people is difficult, so I just let them find that on their own. Your brain will figure it out. Otherwise, if you have a bad day and you want to just go through the process there, you've got a strategy to get it right as well. All right, we're going to write the slope-intercept form again, but this time the tricky one is y equals x. Again, that will set your brain into a pause mode, like you're like, I don't recognize that. So turn it into something that you recognize. Y equals 1 times x plus 0. There is no other number added on here. And there is no number in front of the x, which means it must have been multiplied times 1. So we are going to be going through the same process again, but we're going to use the point 5,3, and we're going to use a slope of 1. We mark our xy so we don't get mixed up in the middle of this thing. Grab your y equals mx plus b, pop in the numbers. Y is going to be 3, x is going to be 5, and m is going to be 1. Do the math to solve for b. We get 3 equals 5 plus b. Now I need to subtract 5 from both sides. 3 minus 5 is a -2, and that's our b. So when we write the equation, remember the slope is 1. Y equals 1x minus 2. And you can rewrite that as y equals x minus 2. Either one of these would be what I would take. All right. I know that when you're in class, you're probably going to need more practice with this, so talk to your teacher about it, especially if you have a long homework assignment. If you have questions for me, drop them down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.